Hello everyone, welcome back to Hills and Hollers Homestead. Mike again, and these pigs. Every video seems to start off with these pigs. Anyways, so we had talked about previously about going ahead and getting the males when the weather gets cold and stays cold, and getting ahead, go ahead and processing them, and keeping the females. Peppa, she's a Gloucestershire Old Spot. All four of these are Gloucestershire Old Spots. She's definitively the probably more purebred than the rest of the others. But we decided we would go ahead and keep the two females because of how hard it was to find pigs last year, and we had to travel almost 100 miles to get them. About doing artificial insemination and raising our own piglets. So I reached out to a couple breeders in the region. The one I talked to is also a veterinarian, and she told me, she said artificial insemination does not work well with this breed. It just, they don't take well to it. It doesn't, result in very many successful pregnancies. She said, so you need to get a boar. And I told her my concerns about the boar, and the aggressiveness of a boar and having kids and stuff. She said, don't worry about it with this breed. Their disposition is so good that you don't have to worry about that. All of her boars are like big babies. They all roll over and let her rub their bellies. She said they're just more like dogs than they are anything. And we have seen that with all of these, all four of these pigs. So that kind of eased my concerns. I talked to my wife and I said, if we're going to do it, we need to do it. I said, we can't sit and wait until next year, after the first of the year. With everything going on in the world today and how much difficulty we actually had finding the pigs early in the season, I said, our opportunity may slip by. So I started looking. I found over in Pendleton County, one of my favorite places on the planet, I actually found a pig, and I called or messaged the girl, and we put a deposit on a 9-week-old, which should be 10 weeks old this week, registered Gloucestershire piglet boar. So we're going to go get him Saturday. And the plan is bringing him home Saturday. And what I'm going to do is I got an extra pig panel here and some T-posts. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put that panel right between these two posts right here with a couple T-posts. And then I'm going to tie into the electric and run it right across from one side to the other. I'm going to take one pallet out of this shelter here, slide it that way, like bring that wall down to here, just to give up a little bit more space and give him more room to kind of root around in there. And he will have plenty of room in the pen here to kind of root around and forage and explore. Being 9 weeks, 10 weeks old, he's not going to need a whole bunch of room. But the point is to kind of get him in here, give him a little room to move around and stuff, make sure he's got good shelter, and he can get used to the other pigs while they can kind of get used to him without them actually physically being in contact with each other. And not that I think that they would be mean or anything like that. I just don't want, and well, they may be a little territorial. I don't know. I've never raised pigs before. So I don't want to take a chance on him getting hurt or anything happening to any of my pigs. So Saturday we're going to get him. The egg layers that I had in the orchard, I went ahead and my brother lost all of his chickens to a raccoon problem. He since got that resolved, so I went ahead and got all of the my egg layers. So I went ahead, since I didn't have a place to winter my egg layers and I didn't want to integrate them in with my other two breeds, I just offered them up and he took them. So I took all the egg layers and the two guineas over to my brother's, and he's got them now. The American breasts and the Delaware broilers, I'm about to separate them to sexes. I'm going to take the roosters of both breeds and put them on one side, and the hens from both breeds and put them on the other. The American breasts, there's 7 roosters, there's 6 hens, and the roosters are really pressuring the hens. And they are laying now, but they're really pressuring the hens, so I want to separate them out. The Delaware broilers are not laying yet, and so I still want to get them kind of separated out. And that way, through the winter, the hens are able to, lay their eggs and stuff like that. We've got eggs to eat, and they don't have the pressure on them, especially during the cold weather and stuff like that. Now in the spring, we'll start integrating them back together and then start incubating and raising, what we're going to grow out for meat chickens throughout the year. The rabbits, the one doe kindled over the weekend. We got 7 bunnies. The other one I put in the cage, the other doe who I could not get her to breed no matter what I did. I just put her in the cage with one of the bucks, and I left her in there for 4 days. And I'll go ahead and I've marked it on the calendar that I'm going to treat it as a successful breed and estimate the time and go from there. And I'll just put a nesting box in her cage when it comes time. And if she doesn't kindle, obviously it wasn't a successful breed, and we'll just make our decisions with her from there. But the 7 rabbit bunnies the 7 babies that the one did have, So in 10 to 14 weeks, or likely like more like 14 weeks, you're looking at about 40 to 45 pounds of meat in a freezer. I'm not going to breed them anymore throughout the rest of the winter. I'll probably wait till about March before I do that again, depending on how the weather is, just because I don't want to take a chance on, any bunnies freezing or anything like that. I don't want to get any losses if I can avoid it. So we'll just hold off for the rest of the winter with breeding. And again, with the chickens in the spring, I don't want to incubate through the winter because I don't want to brood through the winter. I would much rather wait until the weather's better and I can take my incubated chicks out, put them in a brooder, brood them for a couple weeks indoors, and then I can put them in a couple chicken tractors out in the yard to get them started on grass, get them raising on grass, and then when they get a little bigger, move them back out here to the field and get them on the pasture raised. And that, I mean, honestly, with what we're doing now, excuse me, West Virginia sinuses. Great time of year for it. So with, what we grow in our raised beds and everything this year, and what we have been doing and in preserving out of there, and the prospect of hopefully getting the USDA approval to get the high tunnel greenhouse installed next year. I mean, honestly, now we've got rabbits that we can reproduce. There's a food source. We've got chickens we can reproduce. They lay eggs. There's food sources. We've got gardens. We've got, orchard. We've got wild harvest we could do, wild game harvest. We got there's an old orchard way back up here on the hill that's probably 100 or more years old, still produces apples. The pigs, we're going to be able to reproduce with the pigs. That self-sustainability, man, it's all coming together. And I just sit around sometimes and I'm going, really, it's amazing. It really is amazing. And we set the goals and we had to kind of reel ourselves in and throttle back on some things. And, we made a promise to each other. We were going to just do one thing at a time this year from beginning to completion. And before we started anything else, that way we could get things actually accomplished. And that made a huge difference because, I mean, look where we're at now. We started off no pigs. Now we got pigs on an entire wooded lot. We've got 2 different breeds of chickens. Now we're going to continuously reproduce here on the farm. We've got the rabbits we're going to reproduce. We're, growing in a garden. We're hopefully going to get a high tunnel. That self-sufficiency and that self-sustainability is right there, man. I mean, it's right there. My goal of ultimately 80 to 90% off of our own homestead, off of our own land, it's there. I can see it. And with that high tunnel coming into play, that'll definitely make a huge difference in everything as well. The other goals of that will be to expand next year. So this will all get expanded here for like the corn. So we'll do like the field corn, the Bloody Butcher and the Regeladent. I'll take it farther over that way and come all the way across over to where the old wood pile is right there, the old brush pile. And I'll expand it that much more. And then the rest, I'm going to plant sweet corn out through there. And then we'll expand this as well here for, gourds and squashes and pumpkins and things like that we can grow and feed to the pigs. We've harvested the corn, and I have several of them the years in the house drying. So, we can go ahead and shell it and get it ready for planting next year. The berry bed, we're going to continue to work on it and, get it growing and get it expanded a little bit more. The grape arbor, it's there. I mean, it's honestly there. And in 2 years' time, the growth has just been amazing. It really has. And it's amazing to be able to do all that too with just 2 people who work full-time as well. So, if you're new to the channel or you just kind of like to watch some dumbass spout off about what he's doing up on some hall in West Virginia, if you've ever thought about this, it's doable. It's absolutely doable. And yes, there's money involved up front. You have the upfront costs of all the infrastructure and stuff that you have to have in place for the animals. And then once that is done and you get the animals, you have the cost of the animals, the cost of the feed and everything that goes along with that. But in the end, I wouldn't change a thing. Honest to goodness, if you told me right now, I said, give up everything that you got right now that you've built over the last 2 years, we'll give you back 3 times the money that you've spent, I'd say no. Absolutely not. I wouldn't do it. Even 4 or 5 times the money. And it's just because I get so much enjoyment out of this. I get so much peace out of doing this. I just love, working with and interacting with the animals. I love the fact that the animals are working for us and not only going to feed us, but they're helping us with our land. They're producing us food, and it's reciprocal with the animals and with us. and also with land, because we're going to be able to improve our land and everything as we go along with all of this. And then of course I've got through the winter here, I've got to work on the property fence over there to get it replaced. I got to get it cleared. That's going to be the biggest job, is getting it cleared and then getting it replaced and getting ready for the hopefully spring lambs in the spring. That's the goal there, and I can work on that through the winter. And I'm also going to go ahead and take some time through the winter in days that I can't work outside, you know, where the weather's going to be off, and I'm going to go ahead and start building my rabbit tractors, because as we get a little better weather like this time of the year, or even, you know, later in winter, as pretty much all the snow and stuff is done, I can go ahead and put my rabbits out on the tractors in the grass, and that's going to cut my feed costs right there. Rabbits are the lowest cost feed animal on the homestead, but you can cut the cost even more of that by putting them in tractors and letting them graze and move them once a day. So of course you have the cost up front in the tractors, but in the end you're saving in food, and they don't eat a whole lot of food. They don't eat a whole lot of food at all. But you want to be able to give them that fresh forage, that green forage and stuff. And yeah, so that'll be another thing that I'll work on this winter. But anyways, this journey has been amazing, and I absolutely love it. I love what I'm doing. I love what we've been able to accomplish. There are times where I just kind of sit back and I'm like, I don't know if I can continue to do this. I don't know if I can keep up with it, but you know, it's not bad at all. It's really not. So don't let your mind don't let your mind lead you, because your mind is going to talk you out of more things than it's ever going to let you get into. You have to get the vision, get the focus, make the plan, and do it, and do one thing at a time. And what's the famous saying is start right now, start right where you are. Everything that you can do, every little bit that you can do for your own self-sustainability, for your own self-reliance, to get that better opportunity to feed your family, to feed them better food, healthier food, you got to take it. You have to take it. And you don't need a bunch of land. You don't need a bunch of property to do any of that. There's plenty of references out there, plenty of stories, plenty of YouTube channels out there that just entail all of that stuff. So I'm going to tell you, it's going to be a busy winter. If it was a busy summer, it's going to be a busy winter. I actually prefer working this time of year outside than I do in that hot and humid the summers that we have. But there's a lot to come. There's a lot to do, and there's going to be a lot to share. So with this world, with everything going on that's going on, I wouldn't stop now for nothing. So, and that's what I'm going to encourage you to do. If you're not doing it, start. If you're doing it, dig them heels in, put your head down and get into it. You got to keep working. You got to keep going. You got to keep moving forward. The system's trying to starve us, so we got to starve it. Get prepared, stay prepared. Take care, and God bless.